Yo, before we kick this off, do me a solid. Hit that subscribe button on USX Stories right now so you never miss the next legend. Fort Benning, Georgia, 0255 hours. The air so thick with humidity it felt like breathing soup. Master Sergeant Riley Quinn stepped off the company's CP porch and let the screen door slam behind her like a rifle shot. 1001 Station Unit training recruits stood in perfect brick formations under the sodium floodlights of Harmony Church, rifles slung, eyes front, trying not to shake. Riley was 5'6" and a solid 135, but every private in that formation felt 12 feet tall and bulletproof until the moment she started walking the line. Her boots crunched gravel loud enough to be heard in Alabama. She wore her patrol cap tilted exactly 2 fingers above the nose, blouse sleeves rolled regulation tight, Silver Star and Combat Infantryman badge catching the light like accusations. Southside Chicago had raised her on cracked sidewalks and Friday night dojo brawls, and the United States Army had spent the next 11 years trying and failing to sand those edges off. Tonight was a redesigned shark attack, the welcome to hell moment the new cycles lived in terror of, and Riley Quinn was the main event. The battalion commander watched in the shadows with a cup of coffee and the expression of a man who already knew he was about to be famous for all the wrong reasons. Riley stopped dead center, pivoted on her heel, and let the Georgia night swallow every sound until only the buzz of the lights remained. Then, in a voice that never rose above conversational, she began. In 6 months, some of you will be walking pointed mountains that make this heat feel like a hug from Grandma. The enemy will not care that you're a prom king, that mommy still packs your favorite snacks, or that you can bench 3 plates. They will only care that you bleed easy. My job is to make sure you bleed them first. Questions? 1,000 throats stayed locked. Riley nodded once. Good, because the only easy day was she never got a finish. From the 3rd rank of 2nd Platoon came the whisper that changed everything. Yo, Sergeant, bend over and I'll show you an easy day. Nervous laughter rippled outward like a frag grenade with no spoon. Riley didn't blink, but every drill sergeant on the line felt the air go arctic. The battalion commander muttered a single word no longer prayerful, Jesus Christ. Riley turned slowly, scanning faces the way a sniper scans tree leans. Who said that? Silence thicker than the humidity. She took one deliberate step forward. Last chance. Nothing. Then Private Jackson Coulter, 6'3", 240, corn-fed Nebraska proud, still buzzing from stolen peach vodka behind the PX, cupped his hands and bellowed, I said bend over, baby. The formation lost its collective mind for exactly 2 seconds until Private Diego Ramirez from East LA added, he ain't lying, Sergeant, and the laughter detonated again. Riley's when Riley's eyes locked on them like laser designators. She tilted her head, cracked her neck once, and started walking straight at 2nd Platoon. Recruits parted like the Red Sea for Moses with a bad attitude. The circle formed itself before any drill sergeant gave the order. Phones came out, contraband be damned, because history was about to happen and nobody wanted to miss it. Riley handed her M4 and cover to a stunned female drill sergeant from Charlie Company, rolled her sleeves 2 perfect turns, exposing forearms corded like bridge cable and covered in pale scars that looked like tally marks. Jax Coulter stepped out of ranks, grinning the grin of a man who had never lost a fight to anyone under 6'5". Diego bounced on his toes beside him, street boxer style, gold chain still swinging under his blouse because regulations were for people who were scared. Riley stood loose, hands open at her sides, watching them the way a leopard watches gazelles argue over who gets to die first. Jax moved first, classic linebacker bull rush, arms wide for the bear hug that had pancaked quarterbacks from Omaha to Lincoln. Riley slipped inside faster than thought, caught the wrist, pivoted her hips, and the entire battalion heard the wet pop as his elbow went 90 degrees past factory spec. Jax's scream was half surprise, half agony, and entirely too late. Riley used his own 240 pounds like a dance partner, spinning him into Diego's wild haymaker. She ducked under the punch, trapped Diego's arm in a figure 4 no jiu-jitsu manual ever printed, and dropped her shoulder into his chest while yanking down. Another pop, sharper, followed by a howl that cut straight to the Georgia night and lodged in every recruit's spine. 30 seconds. 2 ruin arms. 0 mercy. Both privates knelt in the red clay, cradling limbs that now bent like overcooked spaghetti, faces the color of old oatmeal. The circle of 1,000 future infantrymen stood in absolute silence you could have bottled and sold as fear. Riley crouched in front of Jax, voice still calm as Sunday morning. "Private Coulter, what is the first Army value?" He whimpered, "Loyalty, Sergeant." "Loyalty to whom?" To my buddies, to the mission." Tears and snot mixed with Georgia dust. She turned to Diego. "Value number 4, Private Ramirez?" "Our respect, Sergeant," he gasped. Riley stood, faced the formation, and finally raised her voice just enough to reach the back row without yelling. "This is what happens when you mistake the United States Army for your high school locker room. Gender is irrelevant. Rank is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the soldier on your left and right. You disrespect one, you disrespect all. You get one killed overseas, I will find you and finish the job myself. Are we crystal?" "Crystal, Master Sergeant," 1,000 voices answered, some cracking mid-word. Riley pointed at 2 random privates. "You and you, litter carried to the aid station. Move like you mean it." They moved like their lives depended on it. Because tonight, they honestly believe they did. By 0600, the video was everywhere. WorldStar, TikTok, Reddit, even the CNN crawl. Hashtag Mommy Reaper trended above Taylor Swift's new single. At 0800, Riley sat ramrod straight in Lieutenant Colonel Harrell's office while he stared at his computer screen like it had personally betrayed him. "Quinn, you're the most famous NCO since Audie Murphy, and the Secretary of the Army wants to know if we're running a prison or finishing school. What do I tell him?" Riley never blinked. "Tell him we had a respect deficit, and I balanced the books, sir." Harold barked a laugh he couldn't hold back. "You're getting a meritorious service medal and a trip to D.C. to shake the SMA's hand on the Capitol steps. Try not to break anything he needs." Riley allowed herself half a smile. "I make no promises about politicians, sir." 3 days later, the battalion ran a surprise night live fire. OPFR, real Rangers in kit, slipped the perimeter for an unannounced stress test. Tracers snapped, simunition cracked, and half a second platoon froze, exactly the way civilians freeze when real bullets fly. Riley grabbed the nearest private by his drag strap, threw him behind a berm, and started dumping control pairs downrange like she was born with an M4 in her hands. 10 minutes later, every Ranger was dead. Every private was alive, and the legend grew another floor. Recruits who had watched her break arms in 30 seconds now watched her shield them with her own body while returning fire. The shift was seismic. Mommy Reaper wasn't just violence, she was protection. A month later, Jax and Diego stood in formation again, arms still in casts, eyes completely different. When Riley walked the final inspection before graduation, both men snapped salutes sharp enough to cut glass. She paused, leaned in so only they could hear. "You two owe me push-ups every day those casts are on. When they come off, you owe double. Then we're square." Jax swallowed hard. "Yes, Master Sergeant. And thank you." Riley raised an eyebrow. "For what, Private?" "For the lesson. The real one." She nodded once and moved on. Graduation day broke hot and clear. 1,000 new infantrymen in starched ACUs, infantry blue cords on their shoulders for the first time, families in the bleachers waving tiny flags. Riley stood on stage as guest speaker, Sergeant Major of the Army himself behind her grinning like a proud father. Cameras rolled live on every network. She looked out at the sea of young faces, found Jax and Diego front row center, and began. 6 months ago, some of you thought war was a video game and disrespect was free. Today you know better. Today you are quiet, you are lethal, and you would die for the person beside you without hesitation. That is the only currency that matters in combat. Carry it with you always. The applause lasted 5 full minutes and drowned out the band. Afterward, in the emptying auditorium, a tiny girl in a pink dress, maybe 5 years old, tugged Riley's trouser leg. "Are you the lady who broke the bad boys?" Riley crouched to eye level. "I'm the lady who teaches good men how to stay alive, sweetheart." The girl hugged her leg like Riley was Captain America. Somewhere a photographer caught the moment, and it became the new poster for Army recruiting. That night, alone in her office, Riley opened the small cedar box she kept locked in her bottom drawer. Inside lay her father's faded Chicago police star, and a Polaroid of a scrawny 12-year-old version of herself standing over a crying teenage boy in a dojo, her tiny fist still raised. On the back, in her dad's handwriting, "Never bend, kid. Break first." She traced the word with a callous thumb, closed the box, and killed the light. Outside, cicadas screamed in the pine trees, and somewhere a new cycle was already whispering about the legend of Mommy Reaper. Riley smiled into the dark, the same half-smile she'd worn the night she turned two idiots into a cautionary tale for an entire generation of soldiers. Years from now, when those 1,000 infantrymen are grizzled sergeants themselves, they'll still tell the story the same way. The night a 5'6" woman from Chicago broke two grown men in front of the entire battalion, and then spent the rest of the cycle proving she would die before she let any of them down. They'll finish every telling with the same line, passed down like gospel. Never tell a woman raised on the South Side to bend over. She'll break you in half, then carry you the rest of the way home. And that America is a true story of Master Sergeant Riley Quinn. The day the U.S. Army learned respect the hard way, and the day 1,000 boys became men under the Georgia floodlights. Now I want to hear from you legends in the comments. What state or country are you watching this from right now? Drop your location. Hit that like button if this gave you chills, and smash subscribe because next week we're dropping the classified file on exactly how Riley Quinn earned that Silver Star in Syria. You do not want to miss it. See you then, Patriots. Huh.